Welcome to the Forging Podcast, where our mission is to forge guys into godly husbands, fathers, men, and leaders in their communities. We push out of our comfort zone, face our fears, and grow stronger every day. We strive to be selfless providers, dangerous protectors, loving husbands, fathers, and friends. I hope you all enjoy the podcast.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So what did the lady call you that one day?
It wasn't like Stubby or something.
Stubby.
Yeah.
She said they went on a trouble call and this lady said called him Stubby or something. Man, he's a stubby little thing. I bet what did she say?
I bet he's mad a lot or something.
I bet he gets mad a lot.
I bet he's mad a lot.
He called the other guy the hot dog fingers. So.
Yeah. She was talking to him. She said, "Boy, you sure do have some fat fingers."
She was like rubbing on his neck and stuff. Sniffing on him. Oh,
She
man.
sure was. I was like, man, we gotta get this lady's power
I
on.
want to turn this on Tyler when we talk about hair loss and
Man, we can talk a lot about a lot.
yeah.
That's a sore subject.
We can talk about his callus on his belly.
Yeah. Put on a little weight.
He got a builder's permit to put that shit over.
I like being on you more.
I don't know.
You enjoy that more?
Yeah, that was a lot more fun.
Yeah, that fun no more is it?
We can talk about the earrings and you know the surgeries.
Different stages
I
of my
did
life.
Yeah, I did his earring.
Did you?
Yeah.
Sure did.
He
Got
did.
hung
One
up
of
in there. Yep, punched it and the thing got clogged and couldn't get it out.
John sent me a text one time and said, "Has Tyler got an earring?" I said, "Surely not."
Oh
he
yeah.
Said, he said he does.
Oh, he definitely
He
does.
said, "What's wrong with him?" I said, "I don't know."
So that was at work. Wes, Todd, he come in. He really wanted an earring. He's like, "You want to do it?" And I said, "I'll do it."
He bought the whole thing.
Yeah, he bought all of it. He bought it all, and he's like, "Here." So I was like, I've done it before with a paper clip sitting in math class in high school. So I did one, and I was like, "Man, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the other one." So I went and got another one. And I was like, "Hey, stick that thing in there," and it's kind of like a vice grip plier looking thing, And
Yeah.
I was like, "Once you go, make sure you go.
Don't halfway it.
Yeah.
Well,
Once you commit to it.
Man, he leans up on my ear and I'm talking about clamped that thing down and almost shoved the earring all the way through my ear. And I'm like, "Hey, that's enough." Whoa, too much.
You said go, boy. I let
It was
it
crooked. It
go.
wasn't even centered.
Angled down.
Yeah, it was all
I was
messed up.
like, yeah, boy.
My
Yeah, you like that earring?
I think my stepbrother used a dart and an apple or something. Sharpened the dart and burned the end, and then
There you go.
I'm like, whatever, man.
I'd just rather be a man.
My ear's going to remain
Yeah,
holeless.
me too.
Yeah, man. I mean,
Feels a lot better now, don't it? Grew back.
I don't need no earrings.
I don't need it.
Well, it started off more of a joke, and then I had them, so I was like, I'll use them for a little while, and then,
Then your gas station hopped on earrings.
yeah.
I had you some different gas station earrings. Yeah.
I got me some diamonds.
Several infections,
some
no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Wes is he still has his. He's got a loop in his ear. Rocks it every day.
What's wrong with him?
You pointed at your right ear. Is it in his right ear?
I don't know. No.
Yeah, what's it
Is
saying?
Huh?
Isn't there a saying?
Is that a rule?
Typically, a man with a right ear pierced only means he's gay.
So
Okay.
no, his is in the left.
So he's got two of them in the right ear.
I think it's in the right.
That's why I put two in, because I wasn't real sure about that. And didn't want any comments. I'm gonna go ahead and put them both in there.
Hey, today you would be fully accepted.
Yeah,
For
We're
sure.
gonna clear
I
that
didn't,
up.
I didn't
You'd
even
be a
wanna
hero today.
Well, that's what's funny, Coming from Sarasota, it's not uncommon to see homo stuff all the time. But dadgum, you go to McDonald's in Hamilton. Of course, lately there've been girls working there, but I think the Burger King too. At one point, it was kind of scary passing through there. You never know what's fixing to happen, and
Yeah.
some confused people working there. And it was kind of weird to see in these little towns that people are just screwed up here as they are in big towns. Just maybe less of them.
Right.
That's really only happened in the last probably 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be different. That's changed, shoot, a lot in the last 3 years, but it probably started about 10 years ago. But
Yeah.
I mean,
I think same, pretty much
people
same
talk
back
about
home.
it all the time around here as our town has changed so much.
What do you think?
Internet,
Internet.
yeah, social media.
Yeah, freedom fiber when it wants to work.
I think it's just the fall of creation.
Yeah.
Further you get from God, the
Romans
worse
1.
it looks.
You read Romans 1,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's scary, similar to what's taking place today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the men being silent about it. They're not, nobody's saying nothing really.
That's what's aggravating me, and that was kind of one of the fires behind getting all this going, was the fact that men don't want to just stand up and be men anymore. But I noticed a long time ago when I was a young teenager. I mean, I watched some cartoons when I was a little kid, but not a lot. We were out playing all the time. So, and we had this gigantic satellite dish in our backyard. So you'd turn the channel and you'd see this thing shifting. But that's a side note. But so, I mean, we had TV, but it was limited. But my dad would work for these people that were millionaires, and every Wednesday he would go to their house and just kind of do maintenance around the house. He had a huge house on the water, big pool, and he was always doing something. And if he wasn't working there, he was working at their office buildings or somewhere. And so I'd go as a kid during the summer when I'm off of school, and I'd hang out in their one room downstairs, and I'd go swimming and hang out, whatever, watch a little TV. And that's when I really got exposed to more worldly cartoons, I guess you would say, Nickelodeon, which people don't think nothing of Nickelodeon, but now there's a lot of stuff coming out about Nickelodeon and the pedophilia,
It's a whole documentary.
and the demonic stuff that's in it. But one thing that I remember is how a lot of these cartoons had, it would have the father, the mother, and the kids, but the kids seemed to kind of run the show. The mom was kind of there in leadership, and then the dad was a bumbling fool.
Well, that's in all kind of shows.
Yeah, I mean, it's more now, but I'm just saying, like, it had to start somewhere. I think there's this pre-programming thing that they do with entertainment, with television stuff, and it just kind of sets a mood for futuristic things. Like, kids are growing up watching that and saying, oh, well, the dad's just a goofball and he doesn't really have any priorities or any leadership role. He's just kind of there for the ride, and the mom's really kind of heading it up, and the kids know more than both of them. I mean, that's really what the shows are teaching.
Yeah.
And so the kids grow up thinking that because at the same time you have parents that are substituting parenting with television and not monitoring what our kids are watching. So they're not getting, it's like, send your kids to public school, for instance. At least when they get home, you might have a little bit of time to counter some of that culture nonsense. But a lot of parents don't want to do that, or they're so busy chasing the dollar because they want to have the nice house and the nice cars and all these things that they're like, well, they say it's for their kids to have them have a better life, but they're just chasing their own selfish desires.
Yeah.
And I was the same way. And now I'm just like, I don't, if you saw my house, you'd think I'm poor white trash, almost homeless, because it looks like it's falling down. But I pay cash for it, and I remodel houses. So slowly but surely, I'm working on it and building it back up. And when it's done, it's going to be a super nice house. But I traded, I told my wife when we sold our house in Hamilton that I wanted a house that I didn't have to work on because I was sick of it. As soon as I got done with that house, we sold it. And I was just sick and tired of working on people's houses all day to come home and work on my own. We're living in a construction zone with 6 kids, and dogs, and then we got all our farm animal stuff. It's like, it's just a headache. And that opportunity came, and it's like, if we go buy this house, now we're going to be stuck in a mortgage. And plus we got vehicle payments, and it's just going to be, I have to be out there busting my back every minute, hustling work all the time to try to make it. And I'm like, or we could buy this piece of junk house. We'll have money left over, where we can put into it to get the necessities fixed.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely we fix it up as we go. And if we want to go to Florida for 2 weeks, we can afford to go to Florida for 2 weeks because I don't have this crazy mortgage. I still got vehicle payments, but one's almost paid off. But like we just kind of redirected our wants and desires so that we could have an easier life. I mean, the whole point of us leaving Sarasota, really, not the whole point. We have many reasons why we left, but a lot of it was to have a simpler life, more laid back, around more grounded people, and not always have to be chasing the dollar. I mean, down there you have to constantly be after it because it's so expensive to live. So
you have to deem what's important.
exactly. So I don't have a nice house, and is it embarrassing sometimes to have people come over? A little bit, but I don't owe a dime on my house.
Right.
They can't take it from me.
Yeah.
And if I don't have work, the worst that I can lose is one of my vehicles.
Yeah.
Well, so what?
Well, when you die, then the Bible says what's going to stay is only people that you bring.
Yeah.
So all that stuff's temporary anyway.
It is. It is.
Really
So
matter.
back to parents letting their kids only watch TV, and that's their babysitter because they're so busy chasing the dollar and chasing what they think the world, they're chasing what the world tells them they need to have in their life to be happy. And we're finding true happiness through the word and through a simpler life. We don't have all the frills anymore. We don't have all the stuff we wanted, but I wouldn't trade it because I've got more connection with my kids and my wife, and the ability to walk out my door into woods is, for me, that's amazing. So
It's really hard to find shows that, if you turn the TV on without cussing or anything bad.
Gosh,
Now, it's awful.
It's getting terrible.
Yeah,
I
it
watched The Chosen probably 4 times.
Yeah.
Just because I can't find anything else to watch. And
watch
it's just,
my kids like Little House on the Prairie.
some old stuff.
Yeah, some of that old school.
That's how far you got to go back.
Yeah.
to
It
find
really
something.
is.
Same way with music. Music's the same way.
Yeah.
And we try to only play Christian music around our kids just
Okay.
because, if you listen to an old country song, which I like, but you're going to feel a certain way. You're going to be a little sad because you're like, dang, why does she leave him?
Why is she
leaving?
I guess I need to go get a drink too.
Yeah.
all
This
about the
guy.
same thing.
Or rap is talking about who knows what,
Oh, man.
any of the music. So we just try to stick with kind of like you kind of sheltering with homeschool. We try to shelter with, like you're talking about, TV and music. That's what we're trying to do because we live in town. We can't shelter from everything. Y'all are out here, there's not a whole lot, but in town, they're gonna see it. Which I want my kids to go out into the world. I'm pushing my kids to go to the world because if they don't, who will?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I feel. Like I used to want to live in a cabin in the middle of the woods and be away from the crazy world, but if I don't go out, who is?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing. We live out in the sticks. Where we are, we're out in the sticks, but we're still not far from town.
Right.
But our kids still go in town and they play with the other kids and do all that. And it's interesting because my oldest is friends with this girl or something. I wasn't there for the story, but my wife told me, and I think my daughter did. And she was talking to this little girl, and this is a young girl, like 12 maybe, and mentioned that she's a homosexual.
Yeah.
And my daughter goes, that you're going to hell for living that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, well, if I'm going to hell, at least I'll be happy or something like that. It's like, man. So it was kind of cool that my daughter even had the guts to even say, she probably could have worded it and talked about it different, but she's 12.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't know. And it's like, sometimes
honest.
they're just raw and honest about it. And I love that.
Right.
And so,
What the Bible says, I think men like us, manly men, you want to point out the homosexual. And, the list in the Bible, the drunkards on the list right next to the homosexual.
yeah.
But men are good with drinking.
Yep.
We're cool with getting drunk. But
You're
just
right.
point out the homosexual, well, they're going to be together side by side
Yeah.
if they don't repent.
Yeah.
And I think we're bad about doing that. And instead of just saying, hey, you're going to hell, you got to show them Jesus.
That's right.
You have to.
And that's the thing. You got to show them the truth through love. And you can't always just punch them in the face with the facts.
Right.
And
Everybody's
I think,
so sensitive now.
Yeah.
Christian people, the church has made a mistake with the whatever you call them, the gay gay crowd. And
Whatever you call it. Okay, yeah.
but I used to be as bad as anybody. It weirds me out. I don't see. I'm kind of like Michael Scott when he says, "Sometime maybe you can explain how you can do that to another dude." But we're still supposed to love them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And show that grace and be firm enough to tell them the right way that's wrong. Show them in the Bible. But what would Jesus have done?
Yeah.
Jesus
He still loved them.
Was very he was very kind and very understanding with the sinners. He was very stern and very harsh with the religious crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's for a reason.
Yeah. And we're trying to be like Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what's that healthy balance? We're supposed to love everybody. That's
I think if you can, speak the truth in love, which is a lot easier to say than to do.
Absolutely.
But
just want to say, listen here.
That's what we should try to do.
Yeah.
And that starts by speaking, period.
Yep.
Not being afraid to
gotta
speak
open
and be
your mouth.
honest.
Yeah.
Now you're shamed and I mean, good grief. You see on TikTok or even on Facebook or whatever where these Christian guys go into groups of the pride parades and all that. And I mean, they just showing up there with maybe a shirt that has a cross on it or something, they're instantly attacked. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know how you can even get through to them people, but they try at least. It's better men than me because I was like, well, you guys have fun in hell. I'm out of here. Like,
well, it'd have to be a one-on-one. You're not
going to accomplish nothing. Yeah,
you do see occasionally some of these guys will get somebody to the side and talk to them, and sometimes it goes good, sometimes it don't. But yeah, if you can get them one-on-one, but that's a pretty hostile environment. Of course, I'm sure at the same time, Jesus went through hostile environments.
I'd say so.
Yeah, and he still accomplished what he had to do. So it's hard to learn because our flesh gets in the way, and we want to, as men especially, it's like, the way them people act, you're ready to fight. Like, just assume knock their teeth right down their throat, then minister to them because they're just insane the way they act.
Yeah.
And I've met many homosexual people, and I've gotten along with them just fine. I don't hate them. I think what they're doing is bad for them, and all I can do is encourage them to see the other side. But I think only the leading of the Holy Spirit is going to make that happen. We can sow a seed, but it still has to be.
And I think if you could pull each one of them aside and look at their parents or their home life, you would learn a lot.
Absolutely. Because
I think the parents, not all, but I think a bunch, have failed as parents to lead the way you're supposed to lead. Because we had a sermon yesterday, and our preacher was talking about, you have to filter everything through a biblical worldview, and you have to filter things in your home like we're talking about as far as music and TV. If you don't filter it, then your kids are going to think that's the way. But if you filter it with a biblical worldview, they'll know that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And that there is truth. There's only one truth. There can't be more than one truth. And so if you teach them the truth, then they'll know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of the world has failed. It's mainly parents.
Absolutely. And the father.
It is.
I would say it starts right at the father.
It is the father.
And
well, you go back to your leadership, true leadership, whether the mother, let's just do a hypothetical, the mother is okay with that. Let's say she's liberal or whatever. It's still your responsibility because you're the leader.
Yeah.
Right. If even though it may not have been you that led the child in that direction, it's still your responsibility because you are the leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you go back to Genesis when Eve ate the fruit. Adam was right there with her when she ate it. And when God comes to the garden, he don't call out for where y'all at. He says, Adam, where are you?
Yeah.
Yep.
because Adam is in charge. And it's the same way in our life. You know, God's wanting to know, what are you doing as a father, as a man? And you know, at the end, when we stand before God, he's going to ask you, what did you do for your children, for your wife? What have you done?
Yeah.
Because I gave you these people to lead. How did you do it? You know, and I think men are failing at that.
Absolutely.
Well, God called us to men to be the leaders of our household under the authority of Him.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that play out in my life and in my family firsthand, where, you know, when I was living of the world, doing whatever I wanted to do, my family followed right along with me. You know, my 8-year-old son's in the shower singing rap songs and saying a cuss word every now and then. And I'm like, hey, what do you know, where'd that come from? And where did it come from?
Yeah.
He hears it going down the road, you know,
Yeah.
it's what he hears, it's what he sees, it's what he's doing. And then when I, you know, gave my life to Christ, my family followed.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't long my wife got saved. My son got saved right after that, and he's singing worship music in the shower.
Wow.
Now. You know, all because of what I did, falling under the authority of Christ, doing my job as the man of my house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just, it works.
It
If you do what he tells you to do,
awesome.
it works.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the best example, you see the pictures of the umbrella. You know, God's the umbrella, and then the man and the wife and the children. But if you're outside of the umbrella, you're going to get wet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to be under the umbrella, or chaos is going to rain down on you. You know, you have to be have a foundation, and the foundation is Jesus.
Yes.
Without the foundation of Jesus, it's going to crumble. You know, just like your son.
Yeah,
that was crumbling.
I mean, it just
The whole family's
going
crumbling.
the opposite direction.
Yeah.
He's, you know, God called us to go.
Yeah.
Y'all want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So we've been having a good conversation. Have we actually got started yet, Blake?
I figure we've been started a while.
Welcome, guys, to the Forging Podcast. We've been talking about a subject that we weren't planning on talking about, but we were having a conversation. Somehow we got there. I don't know what that was, but it must have needed to happen.
It happened.
But we are joined today with Tyler, also known as Flip, and Michael, also known as Nugget.
Yeah, let's go.
And, you know, we we kind of, we got off the beaten path with that opening, but, you know, it does also kind of lead into our conversation because we wanted to talk about discipleship and leadership in our home some more. I know we've kind of hit that topic a little bit, but you can never hit it enough. I mean, it's so in depth and there's so much to it that we could do a complete podcast for 5 years on it, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So we're going to kind of hit that a little bit harder. And we got Brett in the house, the big deal. He's sitting over there. And Blake, he's unmiked today, but you might hear him in the background. We will see. But Blake is behind the computer doing his magic, like always. So, Tyler, why don't you give us a little quick snippet of who you are and what you're about? And
for work, I'm a lineman, build power lines, and trying my best right now to follow Jesus. I'm new in my walk, but I'm really digging in and diving in, and you know, trying to live this right here.
that's awesome.
Brett asked me a while back if I wanted to be on this. I told him no, there ain't no way. You know, number one, because I hate the way I sound on any kind of recording.
We
And then I
all do.
listened to it and I heard Brett, and I was like,
Can't sound any worse than that guy.
can't be as bad as him. So let's go with it.
You know what? I like you already because you're picking on Brett, and I'm not the butt of all the jokes today. So this is going to be a good podcast.
Well, growing up, it was the opposite. You know?
So
We was over here, and he was spearing us off the couch and stuff. All right, get up and do it again. You know, it's fun.
payback
Okay.
time. Awesome. And you're
was
doing
fun.
it
For you.
that's awesome. So you're related to Brett then,
He's my cousin, yeah.
kinfolk. Awesome. And Nugget,
Yeah.
a.k.a. Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. Midget
He's
is what
sorry,
Brett calls me
midget.
for some reason.
He's mad right now. Y'all don't know it, but he's not having fun.
I'm fixing to leave.
It's all right. We'll pick on you a little bit
I'm just
more.
kidding.
No big deal.
Yeah. My name's Michael, and I build power lines with Tyler. Just trying to, man, just digging into just as much as I can and trying to, be a disciple, because that's what God calls us to do. He didn't call us to sit around and hoard the salvation. He called us to go out and be disciples. So that's what I'm just trying to do
Yeah.
for him.
That's
for
awesome.
all he's done for me. If he can carry a cross and die on a cross for me, sure that I can tell people about him.
Absolutely. What got you fired up about doing that?
So I go to First Baptist Carver Heights, and shout out to the guys out there. They've been awesome mentors, and they've discipled me. And they signed me up to a class that I didn't want to teach, and I taught on a subject that it was on compassion, and I'm not a compassionate person.
That's a hard one for me.
And so I made it through the 5 weeks. But when I got through the 5 weeks, I felt, God just kind of telling me that's what you're supposed to do. That's the feeling you're supposed to have. And so, it rocked on for a year or so, and I was going to a class at Sheffield Utilities that my buddy, he leads. And as he was leading it, I was going, and I thought, man, this would be awesome if I would do this at my work, a men's class. And so I started a men's class, and the rest is history. We Wednesday mornings at 5 a.m. we go in there and we dig into God's word, and we just try to, live like Christ as much as we can and live it out. And I've seen lives change. I've seen the morale change. I've seen everything change because of God.
And this is with guys you work with?
Yes.
Wow.
I work with
So
him.
He's
one of them.
I want to hear this story because at the same time, Tyler can probably tell you it's been years coming. I was praying for Tyler because me and him were, best friends growing up and all our lives. And we've done all kinds of crazy stuff together and had a lot of fun. And then I kind of recommitted and really started following Jesus, whether that's when I was truly saved or not.
Yeah, we kind of had that conversation.
We can have that conversation another time. But, one of the people that was on my heart the most was Tyler, because I could see the way he's living. And you can't judge somebody's heart, but you can judge the fruit, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see just from what Courtney shows me on Facebook and when I talk to him and this and that, I can see a little bit of the fruit of his life. My heart was just, I really wanted him to find Jesus.
Yeah.
And I told him a while back, this is after he had gave his life to Christ, but I told him, I sat on my front porch, I think it was last summer, and I prayed to God, do whatever it takes. If you have to wreck him, wreck him.
That's right.
Yeah,
God will.
that's a
He'll do it.
bold. That's a bold prayer.
Gee, thanks,
And
Brett.
and I get that. I really do. I get that
praying for you to
feeling.
get tore up.
If Tyler's mad about it, I understand. But that's
Speaking on that just for a second, when on a other podcast I heard Brett telling a story about somebody close to him telling him he thought he was crazy. Well, that was me.
Okay.
Brett called me, and telling me all this stuff about Jesus and these books I need to read, and I was not living for God at all. Had no desire for it or anything. And Brett was telling me all this stuff, and I was like, okay, man, sounds good.
Have fun with
I don't
that.
like to read. You keep doing you, buddy. I'm gonna do me. And I thought he was crazy. I was like, he's done lost his mind. He's crazy.
I mean, he might be partially there.
it's good for a man to be a little crazy.
Little bit,
Let me
yes.
go ahead and put that out there.
Michael hit on starting the class at work, and he came to me and he said, I think I'm going to start this class at work. I'm a little nervous. It ain't nobody going to show up. And I was, me, I was like, well, that's my buddy. I'm going to show up for him. That's why I went, to show up for him so he wouldn't be by himself. God had other plans, obviously, because, he through that class, he really spoke to me. But what was you saying?
That's the story I wanted to hear. Because, I wanted so bad to get him to Jesus. But, it's like you told me, I don't even know if you remember saying this. Sometimes it's not meant to be you to get a certain person to Jesus. I had told him what Jesus was for me, but then Michael, out of obedience and because he has been discipled, steps out on that, makes that leap of courage, and reaches out to Tyler, and Tyler, being a good guy, is like, yeah, I'll come out there and support my friend.
Yeah.
I
And then
was doing good. I was a good guy.
I think,
look at me, I'm a good guy.
You were praying that Tyler would be wrecked. I actually got wrecked. It was actually me that got wrecked. And I think part of my story is, COVID was 2020, and my dad, he got COVID and didn't get sick, like physically, like a cold. He lost his memory, like Alzheimer's, for a year solid. And, he couldn't remember, where he worked, what his name was, nothing. It was literally like Alzheimer's overnight. And, so we were battling, going to doctors and, for a year. And throughout the process, he fell, broke his back, and had to get an ambulance ride to Birmingham. And, the whole time I'm the oldest son. So I'm like, okay, I have to step up, and I've got a family. So I'm trying to hold my mom up and my family. And it was tough. It was hard to do. And my foundation wasn't Jesus. And I realized real quick that I couldn't do it all. It was impossible. I couldn't do it. And so one Sunday, the Holy Spirit was talking to me, and it was just like I was done. I couldn't do it anymore. I was worn out. I couldn't do it. And I knew I wasn't living right. And so I went up to the front, surrendered my life completely. I said, God, everything I got is yours. It's all yours. There's nothing that's mine. And so I surrendered my life and drew a line in the sand. I'd been saved when I was younger. I know I was saved. I was baptized in the river, but I ran from it. About a year in, I just ran because I thought I was missing out on all this stuff. The partying and all this worldly stuff. I thought I was going to miss out. And so I fell into it. And I drew a line in the sand, got baptized again. And since then, my faith has grown, and we're still battling. My dad, after a year, was in bed, had a seizure, and shattered both shoulders in bed. And so we stayed in Vanderbilt for a month with him. And through the process of refining, I've heard y'all talking about being refined. And you said something about the sparks. They have to fly. Well, God had a lot of sparks to fly off of me to get me to where I am. And I'm so grateful. At the beginning, I was praying for God, heal my dad. Just heal him. Now my prayers are, God, I've seen you do this, so let me see you do this again. I've seen God move in ways that I cannot even explain. It's just, it's unreal. I'll tell y'all one example. We were in Vanderbilt. They said my dad was going to have to go to a nursing home because he couldn't do anything. Both shoulders are broke. And we were like, man, we really don't want him to go to a nursing home because he's got, his mind's still not right. And we just didn't want him to crumble.
Yeah.
But, if the doctor says that's where he's got to go, there ain't nothing you can do about it. And I was there. I was leaving at about 3 o'clock. My grandpa was coming to SWAT with me. And my mom mentioned to the doctor, can he just come home? I can take care of him. My parents are only, they're 51, I think. And she was like, I can do it. I can take care of him. They're like, no way. There's no way you can take care of your dad. He's got to go to a nursing home. And they walk out and we pray. And we say, God, let your will be done. Whatever you want to do, let your will be done. And so I'm packing my stuff up. We're fixing to leave. They walk in. They say, Todd, would you like to go home today to your house? And we were like, yeah, that's exactly what we'd like to do, And so we've seen God move doctors' minds in a matter of an hour.
That's insane.
To the will that he wanted.
Yeah.
And ultimately it lined up with us. That's what we wanted too. We'd have been fine either way. God's in control. But it was just like it was a miracle right there in front of us. That today, I've got a book and I just write down things and my book's filling up.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it's strengthening my faith. And I think because of that it's made me into a disciple. It's part of the process. And I'm so grateful for it because I've seen people like Tyler. I've seen men change because of the power of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
So, isn't it crazy though? You go through that because the same things happen to me.
Yeah.
I got crushed too, and once you get through the other side of it, you look back at it and you what God has done, what He's brought you, and how you've changed.
Yep.
And you almost look back at it grateful.
Oh yeah,
it was worth it.
In the fire, you're like, man, it's just awful.
Yeah, it's awful.
Man, it's awful. But when you get through, like you said, and you look back, you're like, man, if I knew then what I know now, I'd have asked God to do that ahead of time.
Yeah,
because you're so grateful for it.
That's crazy.
So going back on your prayer for me, right when I got saved and you told me that, I was like, man, that's kind of sorry.
Yeah.
As a very, very new into the faith. But the more I got, the more I grew, the more I was like, man, that's great. Because I've told people before, I was the type of guy that somebody like you or Michael, the way y'all would act, I always I got thinks he's better than me. That's the way my mind worked. It's sad it works that way, but that's the way it worked. But, for me, it wasn't you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. It was, hey, I'm going to do this. Afraid there ain't nobody going to show up. And, God did the rest after I got in there through the discipleship. But you saying that prayer and me growing, I've told people in my life, it's not that I think I'm better than anybody or I'm judging anybody, or you pray that because you love that person so much that you want to see them change. You want them to have God. You want them to have what He can offer. And if that's what it takes, at the end of the day, it's worth it. If you lose everything here on earth and you gain eternity with Christ, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
And that's what my attitude was, because I did not pray that lightly, because I know what that's like. Michael knows what that's like. It's extremely painful. But at the end of the day, it's worth it. And so from my position, that is a prayer of a deep love. Now, from your position, I see what you're saying, that's kind of sorry.
Yeah. and right off, that's the way I was thinking. I was like, man, that's rough, But it's not. It's really not, because the if God answered that prayer, it's better than me not finding it ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I keep thinking about obedience, because how many times are we told to do something? The Holy Spirit's telling us, hey, do this. And we're afraid that people might not show up, or afraid that people might not listen to us. I mean, we're got money invested in podcasting and all that. And we're, people could just quit listening and it was all for nothing, but we're just being obedient.
Yeah.
Brett could have been like, man, that's a rough prayer. I'm not going to quite, I'll just keep it soft. But when you feel led by the Holy Spirit to do something, just be obedient, no matter how you feel about it. I know we've talked with Andrew about following your heart and how that's the wrong thing.
That's the worst advice you give anybody.
And I've heard people use it. It's everywhere. Follow your heart. Follow your heart. Da, da, da. It's the worst thing to do. That's what the devil wants you to do, is follow your heart, because your heart's going to lead you the wrong way. And following the Holy Spirit, being obedient, and just doing what He's calling you to do, whether you see fruit right away or a year down the road or 10 years down the road. Just be obedient, because the amount of lives that are being impacted by your obedience to him is huge. And like I said, we don't always see it right away, but it'll come to fruition at some point. And that's awesome that you guys, instead of worrying about your feelings and how things might be, you're just like, no, this is what I feel. I feel the Holy Spirit's leading me to do this, and I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And even
I have
if
another
one
guy,
person out of it.
Another guy helps me. And that's what I told him. I asked him, I said, will you help me do this? And he said, yeah, I will. And I said, even if nobody shows up, I said, I just want to come up here and we'll pray. We'll just pray. And I said, because that's what the Lord it's put on my heart.
Yeah.
Because this place needs it. They need prayer. And I still pray. But, if nobody would show up to class, at least I could have just walked around and prayed over everybody.
Yeah.
And I think whatever you do, you need to do to glorify God. And like you said, you may see fruit a year or whatever. What if there may be somebody that you never see.
Yeah.
But is it glorifying God?
Yeah.
If it's glorifying God, then it pleases God.
Yes.
So
that's awesome.
Not to mention, there's not many men that do it. I was listening to Rick podcast the other day on my way home from the beach. He said out of all the Christian men, I don't know where his information come from, but they did a survey. There's 7% of Christian men that had ever told anybody else about Jesus.
Oh man, we have been talking about this at church.
7?
So go
7% and 10 total. So 3% of those were women. Out of the Christian people, that's how many people has ever told anybody else about Jesus.
That's pitiful.
So
the harvest is right, but the laborers are they're few.
Wow. And you would think, being a Christian and going through stuff and getting through it, that you would be excited to tell people. And man,
so what you gotta ask here is, what does Jesus mean to you? Are you serious about this? Do you really believe what you say you believe? Because if you really believe what you say you believe, people that you are close to, people you care for, you'll pray that prayer, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Destroy him if you have to, whatever it takes, And then you have to have the boldness and the courage to go tell him. I knew he'd think I was crazy. I knew he would, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, just like Michael being obedient and doing what God called him to do at our work. I'd been living like crazy for a long time. I was drinking half a case of beer every day at minimum, leading my family just completely away from God, nowhere near God.
Yeah.
And I went to that class, and the first thing that Rick said in the video was, if there's anybody in your wife or your kids' lives that is a bigger spiritual leader in their lives, then they're a better husband and they're a better father than you are. That hit me like square in the mouth. I was like, I'm the last person my wife or my kids or anybody would come to ask for prayers or to ask advice on anything to do with God. I'd be the last one.
Yeah.
So that hit me, and then, through that whole keeping on going, and I wasn't going to church. I was going to the Wednesday morning class at work, and it wasn't long after that I asked Michael, I was like, hey, I want to come to church with you now, on Wednesday night. I said, but you better be outside waiting on me or I'll turn around and leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sure enough, he was standing outside waiting on me, and we went in there, and wasn't long after that, I started going to Sunday morning service. And shortly after that, God was telling me, when they do the invitation at the end, God was like, go.
Get up there.
Get up there and go. And I was white knuckle on the back of that chair. And I was going, no.
Yeah.
No. I kept saying no for months. And until one day, he just broke me down so much, I turned to my wife, I said, I got to go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I surrendered my life right there that morning, and it wasn't a month later, my wife turned to me and said the same words, I got to go.
Wow.
And we both got baptized together. a week after that. So, and then my son a month later, and my son, you know, we just kind of started doing a Bible study at night, and you know, listening to worship music, and cut off all the bad stuff I was listening to, and
which is hard.
Yeah,
it's hard because you grew up enjoying that stuff,
but that type of music's what I listened to when I was living for the world, you know. Mm-hmm. And when I hear it now, it brings back some of them memories. I don't even like to think about them really no more, you know. But my son was asking questions, you know, and I was answering them the best I knew how. And I started getting a little discouraged because I seen other people doing it, you know, and I didn't want to push him to, hey, you need to go do this. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to be a decision he made when he felt he needed to make it.
Yeah.
So I never did, you know, you need to do it. He'd ask me a question, I'd answer it. I might not hear another question for, you know, a couple of weeks, a month, whatever. And then I'm like, man, you know, I've told him all this stuff, and he's still, you know, what's wrong? What's the deal? And one day he got in the car with my wife and said, hey, I want to surrender my life to Christ. I mean, out of nowhere.
Wow.
At 8 years old, you know, and I was like, she called me and I called him and I was like, hey, man, that's awesome, you know. So we went and met with our pastor, and they had him and my son had a conversation. He asked him some questions. He said, man, I feel comfortable with it if you do, you know. And I was like, you know, let's go. So,
yeah. What's funny about that is my mom's his Sunday school teacher, his little boys. And she was telling me, she said, you really need to try to get Tyler and Tripp alone, because I feel like Tripp's ready. He's asking questions that are they're seeking. They're seeking, and they know things that they need to know. And so we were supposed to go turkey hunting. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting on the tailgate of my truck, and of course somebody oversleeps, and they don't ever pick me up. I'm just sitting there. But you know, it's funny how all that lays out. You know, that his mom got to experience that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, God's plan for all that. It's awesome.
And then another really good friend of mine that I spent many nights till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, just, you know, drinking a lot, acting stupid. Yeah. Went over there one night, and you know, he didn't know no different, I guess, and I didn't partake in what we normally did. He seen something. I never said nothing. I never mentioned anything, and it wasn't too many days later. He was at the house, and I just, you know, we started having a conversation. It wasn't long after that. He was, hey, I'm gonna come to church up there with y'all, you know. So he showed up, and he called me and he said, I just seen something. I seen something different. He said, I didn't know what it was, but something was different. And he started seeking it, you know, and I told him what God had done in my life and what he's done for my family. And he wanted it, you know, and he said God was talking to him, and he had a dream one night that he was at my funeral. And I was there. Did he say I was there? Mm. Anyways, he was at the funeral of the old Tyler, you know, the Tyler that was hanging out and drinking and acting a fool, acting stupid all the time. That's the funeral he was attending. But my new, renewed self was there with him, you know. And
wow.
And the old is dead. The
old was dead, and the new was there. And he gave his life to Christ not long after that.
Wow.
You know, that was the importance of discipleship.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's the thing. You know? That's the thing. You know, Brett was talking about being real. You know, like I don't know y'all two. You know, it's the first time I've met y'all. But if I want to know if you're real, I don't ask you. I'm not going to ask y'all. I'm going to go to your kids. I'm going to go to your wife. I'm going to go to your closest friends. I'm going to ask them, is he real? And they're the ones that are going to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that see you the most. They're the ones that know how you live, how you act. You know, if you're a true disciple, they're going to know it, you know, and that's just how you find out.
Yeah.
You live out who you say you are, you know, because you can go to church every Sunday and leave the parking lot leading your family astray.
Yep.
But acting like you're the best disciple there is.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. We had a conversation about that not too long ago on one of our podcasts about how going to church is just ritualistic anymore. It's, well, my parents did it or my grandparents
checking a box.
and
yep.
just doing it because that's what they did and that would make them happy.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not the right reason. Thank God you're going to church, but
That's what me and him talked about on the ride up here. We were talking about you would rather call in sick to work than you would call in sick to church when you were truly on fire for God, because you just cannot wait to get there. You know, we have a Wednesday night, a Wednesday morning, a Sunday morning, a Sunday night, you know, and we just can't wait to get there.
wow.
You know what I mean?
And surrounded by the group of guys that we have is, man, it's awesome. Because calling in sick to work, nobody cares if I show up to work. I ain't got nobody. Hey, you good? If I miss church, I got several guys that's texting me. Hey, you all right?
Wow.
Everything good?
Where you at?
Where you at?
Wow.
You know, that's our job as men.
Yeah.
We need you need men to hold you accountable.
I need to do better about that. That's really good. And what I was we're talking about discipleship. What we tend to do, and I say this with VBS is it's the easiest place to do this. You lead somebody to Jesus, and then you high five, good job, see you next year. You know, and
Hope you do the rest.
Do what?
I hope you do the rest.
Yeah,
Learn it. You know, without
read
any.
your Bible. You know, but you got to bring these young Christians along and let them help them. You know, you start out, and the first step is salvation. You know, you find Jesus, and that's the first step. But then eventually, at some point, you've got to start getting out in that deeper water. You know, and that's where your purpose gets deeper. You get more fulfilled. It's scary. I get it. It's a sacrifice. It's going to cost something, but it's worth it. By far worth it.
Yeah.
And that's what I try. So I was telling Michael on the way over here, or I may have been telling Tyler, if you don't watch me, I have to have some people kind of tell me to, pump the brakes, because it's trying to get men to step out in that deeper water. I'll be dragging them out there in a headlock. You know, I'll be like, you got to go.
Or you'll be dragging them across the rocks.
Right. So,
That's the
and
thing.
I'm still trying to learn how the best way to get people to face their fear and step out into that deeper water.
Yeah. You'll never learn to swim if you don't get deep.
Right.
You know what
That's
I mean?
tough.
It is.
It's tough.
It is tough.
And sometimes it takes that.
Yeah.
Exactly what you just said. I'm teaching my first Sunday school class right now. I'm way out of my comfort zone. Like way out of my comfort zone. And it's funny because, I'd been praying. Our leader, Sunday school leader, came in and asked for volunteers to teach. That's kind of how we do our Sunday school is volunteer, and you teach for 5 weeks on whatever lesson we got going at the time. And when he looked at me and I told him I wouldn't do it.
Does it have like a curriculum?
We're doing the man
The
church.
men of the Bible.
Yeah. Y'all know Rick and
Burgess.
Bubba?
Yeah. I've gone with Brett to his church, and
That's what we're doing. The men of the Bible right now.
okay.
So we're on John the Baptist, and about two weeks ago, I guess, they came up and he said, we need some more volunteers for John the Baptist. He looked dead at me, and he's like, what about you? And I was like, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready. And of course, all of them, well, we wasn't, none of us was ready. Well, I felt convicted after I left, like I should have done that. And I started praying about it, and I could feel God telling me, sign up, just do it. You know what? Just do it.
Yeah.
So I told myself, I go in there Sunday morning and that blank's still open on our board. We got a board where you write your name on it. I said, I'm going to put my name on it. So I walk in there and the thing's still open.
Of course it was.
So I walked past it. I was like, I walked up there and I'm staring at it and I'm like,
You know that I'm here. Is it really that important?
it's still kind of early. If it's still blank when I leave, though, I'm going to get it. So, I walked out and it was still blank, and I just kind of glanced at it. And
Well, if it's still blank next week, then I know you're for real.
I did that for like 3 weeks, Yeah, I did. Not being obedient, but I came back in about, where I was going to do it this time. I came in and my name was on there. And I was like,
Jesus wrote it on there for you.
yeah. I was like, okay. And I walk in and Michael said, hey, I signed you up for John Baptist. And I, you know, in my head, I was going, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Wait till we get to the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, man.
God qualifies. He don't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
Right. And
You
I
just
did
gotta be
the first
obedient.
one Sunday. It went pretty good, I thought.
It did. It went great. He's just asking
You've
you to
already
be
done
obedient.
Yeah, I did.
done
on
Oh, I
Sunday.
didn't know.
The first one. I still got
Okay.
4 more.
All right.
But
Still
the
got
first
4
one,
more.
Yeah.
Still got a ways to go. But
the first one was Sunday, and you know I didn't throw up.
It
or
probably wasn't as
pass
bad as
out
you
or
thought it
nothing.
would be.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I had we got a good group, so that was pretty much. We got a lot of conversation going, a lot of good conversation. So there ain't really a whole lot that you have to do.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You guys got a awesome church there. We went up there for the Forge and Fire
Yeah.
conference. Mm-hmm. And man, so the guy that was talking he's your guys' leader or
He's our Wednesday night, I
Sam?
guess. Yeah,
Yeah, he's over the men's. He's doing
men's
the men's
ministry.
ministry.
that dude was fired up, man.
Yeah, we've got another one
Yes.
y'all don't need to miss. It's in September.
Yeah, I
the
plan on
Gridiron
coming to that
guys are
one.
coming. Yeah,
Phil Waldrop and
Phil Waldrop.
Charles Billingsley leading worship.
the guy over Gridiron.
Dang.
He's going to be speaking.
I don't know. Yeah.
The men's conference in Huntsville, the big one. He's coming.
Okay.
It's going to be huge. So
And that's September. I think I actually put it in
September.
my phone.
Let me look because I want to let everybody know on here.
Do you know, going back to what you were talking about, this is where I'm struggling. Some guys need that,
Some don't.
and some you'll scare the mess out of them. And
Good.
they
Some
won't,
guys need to be scared.
and they'll pull back. That's true. Some guys, they do. But how do you walk that fine line between, it's like asking the brand new guy to pray out loud the first time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Like, well,
I ain't never coming back here.
yeah, and they're like, well, he won't be back, and so that's what I battle because I tend to be that guy. To say you're going to do that, you're going to do it,
Yeah.
even though that sounds harsh. As like you knew that it's worth it. He needs to grow, but
I think it's good to be blunt in certain situations.
Yeah, in
calling
some
people out in
situations,
certain
yeah.
situations.
Yeah,
First time
Courtney-
they're there and you can see it on their face that they're broken, but they're going to leave. They're going to walk out, and you say, "Is there anything you're dealing with?" And a lot of times, men will break.
yeah,
You know what I mean? They just need somebody to open the door and say, and then they'll just bust out. I've seen it. I've seen men just start bawling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're holding all this stuff in, and that's all they needed was you to
Yeah,
say,
because how often do men get asked,
Yeah.
hey, how are you doing?
Right.
It's always the wife and the kids and how are they all doing.
Yeah.
And the men, it's a quick, hey, man, how's it going? Like, you surviving this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like a real,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing on discipleship we were talking about is, the church has set itself up for the women and the children for years. And the problem is that men aren't being discipled. They get saved and you tell them to lead their home or whatever, and they're like, how do I do that?
What's that look like?
What does it look like?
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of like our church and the Wednesday mornings and all that and everything is equipping men on how to lead, because we don't know how. Never
Yeah.
been taught. So
That's what
the
I
main
told
thing.
Michael, and a lot of people, the church scared me a little bit. Just I don't like big crowds and, all that stuff. So when he started the thing at work, it was with guys that I was comfortable with. I knew everybody, and that's where I started. And then I ended up in church, and I had a group of guys that did mentor me, discipled me. And we were talking about that on the way down here. If I'd have been that guy that showed up for Easter and, surrendered my life right there, but then that was it. Okay, now go find you a small group and find you a church and find you all this stuff on your own. I don't know that I would have done it just with my
Yeah.
personality of being, stepping out and do. God gives you a boldness later on when you ask for
Yeah.
it and when you seek Him and stuff. But at that point, I don't know that I would have walked in a Sunday school class full of 40 men and sat down and been involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but with the way we had it, and I had him. Hey, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Being that disciple and helping me instead of just you gave your life on Easter Sunday. Good luck.
High five. See you later.
Well, and
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Happy for you, and that's it.
Because without
why it's-
action, it'll fall apart.
Right.
There has to be action involved. You can't. You have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You have to get in the Word. You have to learn. You have to take action,
Yeah.
or else, like me, for example, when I gave my life and thought I was missing out on the world, I didn't put action behind it, and I fell away.
Sure.
And that can happen to any man, any of us.
Did
If you want to drift, do nothing.
Yeah.
Do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You see no results, don't do anything.
A lot of churches help pick you up, but they don't help you start walking.
Right.
That's right.
And that's
Yeah.
a lot of churches or a lot of people are like that. They don't want to do anything. And this is a great saying that we talk about is participation trophies. How much do we hate participation trophies? Oh, they're ruining the world. They're giving kids everything. They're giving them trophies. But how much do people men expect a participation trophy when you get to heaven? You don't do anything for the kingdom of God, but you want God to just give you a participation trophy and let you on in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what's ruining culture.
Go say your prayer.
Go do your work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go do what God called you to do.
Yeah.
Because that's the true, like we were going to talk about the Great Commission. It's not the Great Suggestion. It's the Great Commission. It's a mission.
Yeah, why
Go
don't
out
you
and
go
do
ahead and read that? We've been going for however long. We hadn't read.
We've stayed on topic though.
We stuck good with you guys.
All been about discipleship.
Man.
We haven't trailed off anywhere. It all evolves around, discipleship.
Yeah.
So that's good. Go ahead and read
You want
that.
me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have my Bible open.
All right. It says, Then Jesus came to them and said, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teach them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. So,
And where you find that at in the Bible?
it's in Matthew 28,
in the Matthew.
18, and 19,
Matthew 28, 18,
and
19.
20.
So that's literally the last thing Jesus tells them before
Yep.
he
The
ascends
last.
back to heaven.
That's the last thing he told us to do. Told his disciples to do, and that applies to us too.
Yeah. And if it's the last thing you tell somebody before you go, I think it's pretty important.
Pretty
That's very
important.
important. Yeah.
And it says, notice it says, go therefore and make disciples.
Yeah.
It don't say, go therefore and make disciples if you want to, or if you feel like it, or, if that's your personality or whatever.
Yeah.
It don't say that. It says,
says
go
go.
and make
Just
disciples.
do this.
Yeah.
Go.
It says
Yep.
Go do it.
And then to speak to your fear of doing that, he says, I am with you to the end of the age.
Mm-hmm.
If Jesus is with you, if you believe what you say you believe, this is the Son who was there at creation. This is the all-powerful God who is with you. What in the heck are you afraid of?
You were almost going to cuss. I thought not.
I mean, I get passionate about this.
I'm with you. You're talking about the Alpha and the Omega. You're
right.
talking about the beginning and the end.
I'm so sick of
And you're
seeing
scared.
people live in
The one who
fear.
spoke us into existence.
Yes.
And you're scared.
And people live in fear. I can't stand it.
Yeah. Now we're human.
Yeah.
So let's back it up. We're human.
Calm down, Brett.
Well,
We're human, and we do
I'll-
get scared because I've been scared. But if God calls me to do something, and He's that powerful, I'm gonna do it
Yeah.
because I'm more afraid of Him than I am of the world.
So there's a difference in what we all have to deal with fear. We are human. You have to deal with fear
I
from
was
time to
scared
time.
today on the ride down here.
Yeah, Tyler's always scared, but there's a difference between living in fear and having to deal with fear.
Yeah.
We all have to deal with fear,
Yep.
but living in fear is completely different. It's you're staying safe. You're not trying anything. You're not, what we're talking about now. You're not trying to bring Jesus to anybody because you're afraid to do that. That's living in fear. A lifestyle of living in fear. That's what I can't stand.
Yeah.
Because there's freedom in Jesus from that.
Mhm.
But you got to ask yourself if you really believe what you believe.
Because statistics or whatever you said, 10% are living with the fear, but
That's right.
90% or scared to death.
Yep.
So are you really believing what you say you believe? Because could you imagine if it was flipped and 90% were out there telling?
You'd
be a different
10%?
world.
It would.
Yeah.
You'd
It'd be
change the
a
whole world.
totally different world.
You'd change the whole world.
Absolutely.
I think it's time. We're look at the world. It's time for men to step up, be a man, quit being a little girl, and be a man, and get out there and tell people what God's done for you and what He can do for them.
Yeah.
The world we have today is a result of only 10% of Christians telling people,
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
and it's a world that's a result of men being silent
Being
and not
passive.
doing nothing.
Yep.
It only takes a generation.
It does. It takes one kingdom man. That's the thing we do on Wednesday night. Is the kingdom man? It takes one kingdom man. You know, for example, Billy Graham. His hair. The person that cuts his hair told him about Jesus. Okay, look at Billy Graham. What he doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes one kingdom man to change a church, to change your family, which changes a church, which changes a congregation, which changes a nation. You know, it's a stepping stone, but it starts with one. And if men keep being quiet, nothing's going to change. It's just not. You're going to see
Absolutely.
more of the evil you see.
Absolutely. That's where I decided I'm tired of being quiet. And I mean, I would tell people throughout the years, but I didn't have as much of a passion about it before, and just don't care. Like, this is our job and we've got to do it. If we're going to see change, I mean, I guess I look at it too. I got 6 kids. I got to worry about their futures. And if I don't raise them up in the Word and get them rooted in a good foundation,
Yeah.
and then start doing my part now while I'm still able to, it's my fault when
It
they
is.
grow up in a bad world in the
Yeah.
future.
And
Whatever.
your job with 6 kids is your very first job. Is you got 6 people to disciple.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, talking about being a disciple. You know, first off, they're not your kids; they're God's kids, and that's something that I had to surrender to God because, you know, I was scared to death that something was going to happen to my children, and I mean, rightfully so. I love them more than anything,
Yeah.
but I have to get to the point where I realize they're God's kids, so God's will be done with my children. Whatever happens is God's will. You know, and my job is to disciple my children so that they can go be disciples, and then the disciples that they make can go be disciples. That's how the gospel works. You know, God plants them kids in your life for that reason. No other reason. It's not to be, you know, there's nothing wrong with being successful, but if success is all you got, then you lost everything.
Everything.
That was our whole Sunday morning. A
You
lot
lost
of our
it all.
Sunday morning lesson was how do you see success in your children, and it should be them being warriors for the kingdom, not being the next star baseball player, millionaire, whatever it is. That shouldn't be your idea of success for your kids. It should be that's the world's idea for success, but it shouldn't be ours.
Yeah.
Ours should be making, discipling them to be warriors for the kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had heard a guy say the other day, we'll look at a man, and he may have the beach house and the nice vehicles, mansion house, tons of money, and we'll call him successful.
Mm-hmm.
All the while, his family's falling apart. His wife can't stand him. His kids are afraid of him. He's just living in the world. We call that success. That's not success.
Yeah. This is what I want success for my kids to look like. The Bible says, what good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels. And then he will reward each person according to what they have done. When my kids grow up, if they've been kingdom minded, you know what I mean? And they have done things for God's kingdom, then they're successful.
Yep.
It don't matter if they make $10 a week or whatever. They don't make nothing. But if they're being warriors for the kingdom of God, they're successful in my eyes. And I'm proud of them.
Mm-hmm.
If they go out and become millionaires and they forfeit their soul, they're not successful.
That's
Failures.
right.
They're failures.
Yep.
I failed at my job.
Man.
That'll
Yeah,
That'll hit.
That'll preach.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, how many people are like, I think we had the conversation maybe before the mics were on about how, you know, we're so busy chasing that dollar, make sure our kids got all this stuff, and it just doesn't matter.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. Like we pulled up here and I'm like, man, I would love to have this, but like you said, you don't see the sacrifice that went into it. And I've busted my back for years, and I still don't have this, and that's okay. Like I've grown to learn that though this would be nice, what I have now, I mean, when I was living in Florida, I was chasing the dollar. I was working hard, doing everything to have all the nice stuff. I wanted to have a nice house, all these things. But I didn't have the close connection with my family that I do now.
Yeah.
So I don't have the nice house or the nice cars and all this stuff, but I have an awesome relationship with my family.
That's right.
And one thing that's been nice about the podcast is it's pushing me to stay in the Word. I have to be held accountable. Like I'm just one of them guys that
I do too.
I can easily fall off the wagon.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so having purpose, like I have purpose. Like get behind this microphone and run my mouth and sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I'm growing so much and getting to meet different people and listen to their story and the things that they went through. And I went through a lot of the same stuff, man. I was drinking, partying, acting stupid, and it wasn't getting me anywhere. I was having a good time, but it was leading me to destruction, which, in long term led me to a motorcycle accident. And that could have easily been my end. That could have been the end of my story. Thank God it wasn't. But, I tell you, I've just grown so much through all this and focusing now on family and God number one. It's changed completely how my family functions, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing. Now it's like, man.
But you know,
awesome.
the thing about all that stuff, all that material stuff, I lived a lot of my life. Everything, my self-worth was performance-based. I think I've talked about this before. And it can be the same way with money. And if you've never, which, I mean, you may, some people may say me as rich. I'm okay, but I'm not like,
You're kind of a big deal.
wiping my butt. I'm not like wiping my butt with $100 bills.
You're using 50s instead. It's okay.
$5.
But anyway, so for me, all that self-worth stuff was about performance, and I would go from one thing to the next. First thing was state championships, athletic endeavors. You get some of those things, and you realize that's not going to fulfill you. That does not bring joy, does not bring happiness, does not bring purpose. Next thing was I went on with the athletic stuff for a while, and then we got to riding four-wheelers. We got into shooting, and a lot of this stuff I did at a really high level, but none of it will fulfill you, no matter how much. It's never enough, and you can see that in the people, Bill Gates,
Celebrities in general.
Donald Trump, celebrities. I mean, my gosh, their lives are falling completely apart. It's never enough. If that's where you're trying to find satisfaction, you're never going to find it.
I can speak on that firsthand. Brett, I've had everything that you can have.
Yeah.
If I could, razors full, start out full. Well, if I could just get a razor, I'd be a lot more happy. Get a razor, and then, if I could get that new one, though, for sure I'd be happy.
And how long does that last?
And it don't last.
No.
It don't last.
Maybe
the
a
boats,
week. Maybe a week.
If I could get that boat, if I could just get that boat,
That's
that'll
a
be
hole
it.
in the water you dump money in.
And then a year later, sitting there in the driveway, and you're paying for it all winter, and you're like, man, I wish I did not have that boat. And houses too. It wasn't that long ago. If I could just get that house on the river, if I could get that house on the river, that's it. That's it. I'll be happy. And now it's just more stuff I got to clean up and take care of. And don't get me wrong, it's fun, but it's not. It will never make you full. It'll never fill you.
never bring that true joy.
Yeah, that's what I would. That's what I was trying to say. Is you always think that. I mean, you can see it in kids. You know, they go through Walmart and they see that one thing, and it's like, I want that no matter what. I want that. I'll do whatever I can do to get it. They get it. By the end of the day, it's just another toy in the toy box.
Yeah, dogs chewing it up out in the yard.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's so important to get in the Word. Because God has an answer for all of it. All of that. You know what I mean? You're chasing all that stuff because you don't know what the Word says. You open the Word up in Matthew 6:19, it says, "Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moths and vermin do not destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also."
Yeah.
You know, if you quit spending so much time on trying to store up treasures here and you start storing treasure up in heaven, it's your heart. That's where your heart's going to be. You know, if you're trying to get all these accolades in sports, well, that's where your heart is. You're trying to get this boat, that's where your heart is. But if you're storing it up in heaven, that's where your heart's going to be.
That's right. And that's the only thing that's going to last. You ever read Ecclesiastes? I love Ecclesiastes. I was talking about this with somebody the other day. You know, you can gain the world here. You can be whoever the richest people are now. Elon Musk or something. You can have all that, but you're still going to die, and all that stuff is staying here.
Yeah.
You want to do something that's going to last, get to work for the kingdom. Bring people to Jesus. Let them see what he offers. That lasts forever.
Wow. You can't even grasp eternity.
Yep.
You know what I
Can't
mean?
wrap your mind around it.
Can't wrap your mind around it. But that stuff actually does matter. What you do on this earth matters for that time that we can't even grasp our mind around.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy to think about. It really is.
Man, that's awesome. Well, we got any more in-depth information on this subject?
Get after it.
Yeah. Step up. Quit being lazy.
Get after
Quit being scared.
Face your fear.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's
not that
worth
bad.
it.
And,
On
man,
the other side.
it. Ain't
joy
nothing
that
to it.
comes
Just
from
do
it is
it.
amazing too.
There ain't nothing to it. Just do it.
Yeah. Just be obedient. When you feel led, be obedient. Do it.
Yeah.
And the fruit that comes of it's amazing. I mean, it's just doing something simple as sitting behind a microphone talking. I've gotten to meet great people, hear cool testimonies, and it's opened opportunities for me to get past maybe the basics of what I've thought and I knew and all that, and open my eyes up to see so much more of God and how he works through everybody. And man, it's awesome. But I want you, before we close out, plug the men's conference again.
Yeah.
So people know about that.
First Baptist Colbert Heights is September 21st.
September 21st, what time?
I think it's 4 or 5. We're going to have there's going to be food trucks. We're all going to hang out. I think you can, bring your wife and stuff to the beginning, and then she got to get.
Okay.
Because it's a men's conference.
And it doesn't matter how she identifies, she's not welcome.
It'd be kind of awkward if she comes. But yeah, so September 21st.
Do you want
They don't
talk
really
about
have
the
a
other
time.
one too?
Yeah, we've got another one that's coming up soon. It's a men's breakfast.
That's what y'all came to last time. Or you
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
You came to last time.
And it's going to be good. It's July 27th at 8 a.m. So it's in the morning on a Saturday. Y'all come on. It's going to be a good time.
And that's
Guys
at
giving his testimony.
Colbert Heights again.
Yeah, it'll be at Colbert Heights. So,
Okay.
Pretty good drive for y'all.
It is a very good drive. It's a beautiful drive, at least.
well,
I'm definitely going to make it to the conference.
the September one.
Yeah, the September
It's
one.
gonna be
That's
good.
That was good. That was, I grew up in Assemblies of God. That was the first time I've been to a Baptist conference. And be honest with you, I had my thoughts. But I'm like, daggone, these guys are just as fired up as anybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that a lot of these Baptist churches are doing a lot more for the men and building kingdom men than a lot of these other ones. So
Yeah, when we were talking about the culture a minute ago, I wanted to kind of say I think something's happening, and it gives me hope.
yeah,
You know, you're starting to see our generation of men, which have been lost pretty badly,
yeah,
but you're starting to see a lot of them step up,
yeah. They
and
really are.
It's we need more,
It's encouraging.
Yeah.
but I believe something's happening.
Yeah. I do too.
I think
Absolutely.
maybe the country is, you had the Asbury revival a couple years ago, and I don't know the details or if there's anything sideways about any of that, but you're just starting to see things happen, and gives me hope.
Yeah. Does
Yeah.
me too.
And speaking of conferences, I might as well plug this one too while we're at it. And I'm going to try to see if I can get with Jason and have him on, maybe a week or so prior to this, but August 17th, Jason Cook, and he's been on our podcast. They have, it's called Stand, Share Truth, Abide, Never Divide.
Oh, yeah,
And it's
that's
got
where General Roper is
Lieutenant
coming.
General A.C. Roper is
Okay.
going to be speaking, and that's First Baptist Church in Hamilton. And that is 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and lunch is provided. And you can, what I'll do is I'll post the invitation on the Forging Podcast page because they have, I guess, lunch is provided. So they're trying to kind of take note of who's going to be there, how many people are going to be there so they can make sure they have enough food.
Okay.
But that sounds like it's going to be another great conference.
What day is that?
August 17th. I don't know. It's a Saturday.
What was
That's-
the time?
Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So that's something else I'd like to encourage people to come to. It's in Hamilton, Alabama.
Okay.
So if you got time and you're anywhere nearby,
Yeah.
if you're not nearby and you got time, come. Either way, it's a men's conference also. I love that there's all these men's conferences coming out and doing that because once again, we've just kind of fell by the wayside in our duties, and we've got to stand up. And going to these conferences kind of get you fired up.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, once you leave there, you've got to now follow through with what you're getting fired
Right.
up
Do something
about.
with it, move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's why you guys are doing Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, Sundays, all this stuff, like that continual fellowship together. I think keeps you encouraged and fired up to do things
And bringing new believers
bringing new
along.
believers. Yeah,
You know.
Yeah, your
Absolutely.
mindset should constantly be who's next.
yeah,
Yep.
You should be on a mission, the commission,
yep,
to who's next.
yeah.
You know, who can I look at fruit and I realize that it's they're not bearing any fruit. So who can I bring to know Christ?
Yeah,
Should be our whole goal. That's why we're here.
absolutely. Well, man, this was a good podcast. You guys were nervous and for nothing. We had a good time.
Wasn't that bad?
No, that's not bad.
So
That's what I've said after everything.
Wasn't that bad.
Wasn't that bad?
So
It's like-
man,
When you walk through the creek for miles and miles.
yeah. Before
No,
we close
that
this
was
out,
rough. That was rough.
That's pretty bad.
before we close this out, let's talk about our adventure we had Saturday. Man, so Saturday, we planned this a few weeks back, I guess.
Yeah, I want to go ahead before you get started.
Uh-oh.
Sherman was awesome.
I tell you what,
Absolutely.
he had a
awesome.
good time too. I love Brother Sherman. He's such a cool dude, and he was just, I don't know. I kept telling Autumn, I said he's like a little kid, just out having like a little kid at a candy store. I just every time I get up to him, man, how you doing, Sherman? Man, this is the best day ever. This is so Sherman's retired military guy. Man, I'm sorry, Sherman, if you're listening. I forgot what he was in Air Force, I believe he said. But he's had a leg amputated, so he's got a bionic leg now. And I remember he heard us talking about going kayaking and stuff, and he approached me at church. He's like, "Man, if you guys go kayaking again, I want to come with you. I got a new leg, and it can get wet. So the next time you go, I'm in." I'm like, "Okay, Sherman, okay." And so we actually did go one time before we invited him. It was kind of a last minute thing. Me, Blake, and my wife, and our kids all went. And but me and Brett was talking about doing it before you get chickens back in and you didn't have time. And so I was like, hey, Sherman, we fixing to do it. And he's like, okay. So the one Sunday, it was a Sunday, let's see, not this last Sunday we just had, but the one before. I said, Sherman, we're fixing to go and all this. He says, okay, when I get home, I'm gonna get the kayak put on the car. I'm like, well, that's jumping the gun a little bit, but I like the enthusiasm. But man, he probably did. I don't know, but he was the first one at our meet point, just ripping, raring to go, and we had a good time. My brother-in-law came, my sister came, and Blake last minute dipped out on us, but that's cool. We had more fun without you, Blake.
The water. I'm guessing you're getting there, but I wanted to go ahead and tell you they let the water go at 1:00.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. When I got back to the bridge to get the trucks, I had to go down to the bottom to get my truck.
Yeah.
And I thought, the water's here now. And I had heard, I think yesterday, that they decided to let the water go at 1:00. So we were ahead of the water all day long.
Thanks. After all the times.
I know. Tidal wave comes through. Yeah, so for people that don't know, we were on the Bear Creek River. Bear Creek. It's a river. Why they call it Creek?
That's a creek.
That's a creek?
That's a creek.
Yeah. There you go. Well,
there's a river.
It's bigger than Buttahatchee River, and Buttahatchee River's called a river.
Why is Buttahatchee called a river?
So I consider that a river.
It's not.
Like coming from Florida, we had rivers similar in width and depth and all that. We had property on the Peace River. So that was a river.
We call it Tennessee a river.
You can touch the bottom.
What do you call the Tennessee River?
A giant river.
Bigger river.
A bigger river.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big river, small river. What's a creek?
Well, for instance, my mom's property is backed by the Buttahatchee River, but she has a creek that comes down along the side. And that creek is it's narrow. I mean, narrow. It's probably, 10, 15 feet wide, but it's a deep ravine, and it's just got small bits of water running through it.
So
unless it rains a lot, then it's a river.
We're getting into the Alabama education here, where we're teaching you how things work in Alabama. That's called a branch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we call that.
Yeah, okay. Like key branch and whatever.
A spring or a branch.
Spring or a branch. Well, see, a spring I thought was something that wells up from under the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. So but
Bear Creek, they let the dam open on the weekends after. Is it every weekend or is it just after Memorial Day weekend?
It's usually every weekend.
Every weekend?
Yeah.
Okay. So they
Saturday
open
and Sunday.
Not during the winter.
Not during the winter.
Not during the winter.
Yeah, so it's only because the kayak thing or the canoe rental place, they only do it, and don't they open in Memorial Weekend?
Yep, Memorial Day to Labor Day.
So Memorial Day to Labor Day, definitely the dam is opening on the weekends. But we went a couple days after 4th of July.
And they ran it on the 4th.
And they ran on the 4th.
So they held back some on Saturday.
Yeah. They knew we were coming, so they're like, we're going to make these guys work. So we dropped in at, what was the bridge we dropped in, 43?
43 Bridge.
Yeah, 43 Bridge, and got out Military Trail.
Yeah, military bridge.
Military Bridge. And it was about 50-50, maybe a little bit more walking than kayaking, but
oh no.
No?
No.
It was at least 50-50.
If you want it rough, go do this one that y'all wanted to do when the water ain't running. Yeah. That is rough.
Yeah.
You walk probably 3/4.
We walked the whole thing. Brett, we went one night and we was camping like a 2-day camp. We was making 2 days camp. Out of it. We was going to stop camp, keep going, stop camp again, and then finish. Brett couldn't go the first part of it, so me and a few of my friends went ahead of him, and we went to the all the way to the top. And we put in and made it around the bend, 100 yards, and stopped. So I'm like, man, this, maybe it's just this one spot. We picked them up and toted them, about 100 yards, set back in them, rode about another 50, stopped again. we walked from there the whole day with 100 pounds of camping gear and a kayak. You know,
Man.
Well, the last time I went, it's better than the last time I went. Last time I went, I got sucked up under a tree.
you lost all
You're
that.
the dude that got sucked up under the tree.
So if anybody's, so if anybody's listening and they find a Yeti lunch, cooler with ribs in
Full
it,
of
baby back
ribs.
ribs, let me know.
A paddle.
Those ribs tasted pretty good. You know?
Well, I sure would like to have them back. Some flip flops, I think some Costa sunglasses. I lost all kinds of stuff.
Well, that
I
night,
lost my Smith glasses out on the golf course the other day. What was it? It was 4th of July morning. What was that, Thursday? Thursday morning. We were out there golfing. I took my glasses off because it was so humid and set them in the golf carts where the balls go. And as rough as going off-roading, I spent a lot of times whacking balls in the woods because I'm really rusty at golf.
You know,
And
you know where you made your first mistake?
golf.
Yep.
I actually enjoy golf. It's not my life, but it's fun to go out
Isn't
and
it
do.
crazy how on 18 when you put it in, you're like, man, I love it. But the whole time you're ticked off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Can't wait to come
I think
back.
on every hole I had a mulligan. We only played 9 holes.
Yeah.
Every hole, my first drive went off in the woods somewhere, or almost took out the shack where they store the carts when they're the greenskeeper shack.
Yeah.
Almost whacked that building.
You wouldn't be the first.
You know, and of course I didn't warm up. It's been 2 years since the last time I golfed. I didn't warm up at all. We were just like, we're here, let's do it, you know, and then somewhere I lost my glasses, so that upset me. It was a
Yeah.
very expensive day of golfing.
Well,
You
I
got to
can-
finish that story.
oh, on the first half of the, yeah. So this is a day. I'm talking about a whole day, daylight. You know, a little after daylight to dark, and you know how it is walking in them big rocks, your
yeah.
ankles and.
And they're slick as snot.
Yeah. So 6 hours into this, you know, I don't even care no more if I break a leg or whatever. I've
You
got
just want to be
I've got my kayak tied around my waist. It's pitch black dark. It's dark,
Wow.
and I'm walking. About every 10 steps, I'd hit the ground, and I'd crawl for a minute, stand back up, walk. Like, you know, I'm on a mission. Randomly, I'd holler out, "Hey!" just see if I could hear Brett holler back. 'Cause, you know, I'm like, for the last 4 hours, you know, I got a whole group of people from our area with me. They're going, "Where we're at?" I'm like, "We're getting close. We got to be getting close." You know, and then we walk another hour and a half, and where are we? We got to be getting close.
Yeah, that's what I felt like Saturday. I kept telling my brother-in-law, he's like, "So how close are we?" I'm like, "We're getting closer." I mean, I wasn't lying. We just weren't
You're
there
closer.
yet. I mean, we still had a ways to go.
But the feeling of hearing him call back, you know, one of the times, like, "Hey," and I heard, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh,
Jesus,
man,
is that you?
we're here."
We made it finally.
Yeah, it was
Then
awful.
tell them what we did.
I don't know if I remember.
We camped there that night,
Yeah.
and then y'all wanted to do the falls when the water's running.
Oh yeah. So we can't. No, we made it to the next spot and camped there that night, and it came a flood. The water rose like 10 foot.
No, this was the net. Yeah, you're right. You got
No, this is
down
a
there.
different camp.
That's
This is a different
trip. Yeah.
Different trip. So we go on a one night deal from the top, you know, from the farthest point, about Haleville, right?
Yeah. No, Bear Creek.
To military, and we was wanting it. We camped the first night above the falls, and it rained like crazy. Like the water rose like 10 foot overnight, and I woke up. There's a tree laying across my tent. It was like a tornado come through there in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So we get out, you know, we're up on like a 15-foot bank, camped out with tents and stuff, and the water's about 5 foot from us now.
Yeah.
Where we had hiked up, you know, and Brett was freaking out. Like, we ain't gonna be able to do this. It's dangerous, you know.
I'll hike that with you.
I'm telling
Of
you.
course, I'm like,
I'll hike that with you.
You can get in trouble on that creek.
Oh, yeah.
when
you know,
it's
I'm like,
that.
no, man, it's gonna be fun. Let's go, you know. So I get in and paddle. I'm like, hey, you can stop at least. You can stop. So worst comes to worst, stop and get to the side, you know. And we take off, and the water's about 4 inches from going over the falls the whole
We got
the whole way.
I wanted to get there. So the falls, y'all seen this,
Yeah.
right? Now you know the left side will kill you.
Yeah.
The right side, and this is what I kept telling them. I said, if we get up to the falls and it's going over at the right side, I said, you got to get out immediately. Get out. And so we get up there. We go through the wash. We sit there and
We let the guy that's never kayaked before go first. And he's like, we're all looking at it like, man, I don't know. You know, these are just like not whitewater kayaks. They're kayaks. When we got them packed full, you know, a couple hundred pounds of
didn't have the
camping
tops.
gear, coolers and tents, just all kinds of stuff. And the guy that was with us never been in a kayak before, and he's like, we're sitting there, can we make it, you know? And he's like, I'll try it. And I'm like, okay.
You do that. Let me know how that turns out.
Yeah. So he makes it through, and he's like, yeah, it's fun. So we all came behind him.
And then right after the wash, you got Factory Falls. And Factory Falls is the one that'll kill you if you go off to the left. If you go off to the right, there's this big rock landing place. And if it's up enough, it'll be going over that too. Mm-hmm. It probably won't kill you, but it will probably, you're going out on an ambulance. And so I told them what I told you. We get up to the rock, go through the wash, coming up, and there's a spot of that rock about as big as that table showing. And we all landed right there on that rock.
The whole time Brett's going, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. We're like, I'd be all right, let's go. And, I don't think y'all understand. He kept going, I don't think y'all understand. Like, well, yeah, we'll be all right. Come on.
I'm with you.
Michael understands.
I understand now. Yeah. If we pull up to the bridge and it's got any kind of white cap, I'm packing my stuff up. Going home.
Well, that trip, we come around a bend, and there's a big old pine tree, huge, laying all the way across the creek. And I jokingly said, I'm going to ramp it in my kayak, jokingly, as I pulled to the bank. Well, I turned around, and
he's like, I'm taking this serious.
He's going. He's got all our food, every bit of food that we have, his Costa sunglasses, hats. I think you got your clothes at least.
Yeah, I did get my
lost his paddle. So he goes over there and hits this tree, turns him sideways, flips him upside down, and he's hanging on the tree underwater. Well, I run across the tree, and I'm trying to get him up, and I couldn't get him up because the water is just like pounding him to this pine tree. So he just pushes under and goes underwater and pops out the other side. Right.
Way down.
Yeah.
I'll come up for like a minute.
So I've got his kayak pulled up half full of water, balancing it on the tree. And the water all went to one side, and here it goes again. I've been working for like 30 minutes trying to get the thing up there, about to die. Well, it flips up, gets hung underneath the tree again. So I was like, there's no way. I just start kicking it down.
Well, we both did. Me and you both had to go down there and jump up and down on it to get it to go
underneath the tree to shoot out on the other side. Lost everything. And he was like, I'm done. I gave him my kayak and my paddle, and I rode that one on my belly to the camp spot.
I'm having no more fun.
Yeah, I had to call a friend that lives in we're in Tuscumbia, an hour away. He said he'd done backed out on coming, and I hiked up a mile of hills to get service, to call him and say, man, we got to have food. We need a paddle. We need all this stuff. And he was like, I wasn't planning on coming now. It's like, well, you got to. So
you got to go.
We need you.
We need food.
I said, when you get to that tree, don't go over it. We'll be waiting on you. Go pull to the bank. We'll help you.
Yeah, we're like rationing out one pack of crackers.
Yeah.
No, it was Dusty who brought that backpack full of protein bars.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're ruining the story.
Sorry.
That's all right. Well, speaking of that sounds fun.
Yeah, we got to get
it sounds
back to
terrifying, but
It's
it
not.
sounds like a good time.
Yeah. Well, if you pull up and it's white water wrapped, and just go home.
Yeah.
Try it again another day.
Try another
Yeah.
day.
It
Well,
was-
if I pull up and it's rocks everywhere and no water, probably try
Go
again
home
another
then
day.
too.
My knees are still
gotta
feeling
be
the pulling
perfect.
of people across rocks. And
But Sherman, we had to start dragging right off the bat.
yeah, because I wasn't going to risk him falling and getting hurt on them daggum rocks.
Well, Sherman gets out of the kayak first
Yeah.
and starts crawling down the rocks.
Yes, he did.
And I was like, he did that twice, and I was like, nah, we ain't doing that. Just
Yeah.
get in the kayak, we'll drag you. And that's what we did.
Yeah, he was a
And
trooper.
Ended up having to drag your brother-in-law quite a bit, too.
Yeah, he had back surgeries and stuff. He got messed up from the military. He was a Navy, I think it was. And,
We worked our butts off.
yeah, we worked our butts off. But man, that was so like if I'd have known what we had to go through, I still would have done it just because
I would have.
it was fun. Like everybody still had good spirits about them and was laughing and joking. And brother-in-law maybe not as much, but he fell a couple times pretty hard. And I pulled up on him one time and he is puking. I mean. Oh, I'm like, daggum, would you get seasick? Like, no, just the pain's that bad. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I was making fun of him. He's in pain.
Yeah.
But man,
He ain't coming back.
I don't believe he had.
yeah,
fun.
I don't know. He'll come back if the water's up.
Yeah.
But I mean, we got in the truck and left, and he wasn't complaining and all that, which I was kind of expecting him to. But he thanked us for taking him and all that. But it was a workout. But man, like that was something that we could have easily given up on and missed out on that adventure. Yeah. And for me, that was so fun. Like I told Autumn the next morning, I'm like, man, I wouldn't mind getting out on the Buttahatchee and doing the short run or something. Just like I want to be back out on the river again. Or
that's the thing about that creek is once you start, there ain't no turning around.
Yeah. There's not, because your next pickup point could be 3 days down the road.
No cell service. You're on your own.
Yeah. But, me and Brett have talked too about getting the men together and doing a camp out. But it's probably going to be in the fall because our schedules are just kind of too busy for a camp out. But I want to do, but I want to do.
We always camp at the Chiefs, so I stopped and showed them that. And,
it's all sand. Like you can walk around barefoot. It's an awesome spot.
Yeah, I want to have a day of kayaking, camp, and a day of kayaking, finish it out.
Yeah, that's what we usually do.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to drop in and set up camp an hour in. I want to be.
This is probably an hour or two in.
Yeah, it's about
not that far.
Yeah, it depends on how high the water is, but I'll let him stop. You know where we stopped and seen the Chiefs hole?
Yeah,
that's our camping spot.
Yeah.
So
I want like a day. I just want when I'm done, I want to be completely exhausted, but be like, that was an adventure. I mean, I toasted my phone while we were out there. I got some GoPro footage that I'm hopefully can convince Blake to help me edit together and make something out of it, and hopefully I don't lose all the video and pictures I got on my phone from that. But it was.
I got all that footage from that flooded trip.
Man, it was fun.
Do you really?
Yeah, on the GoPro.
Oh, we need to look at that.
If I can find the GoPro.
Did you get him
if you can
going
get
under the tree?
I know.
We'll put it on YouTube. I have a couple YouTube channels we can put it on.
I'm talking about the one that Jordan came on with, where we camped out and we woke up and it flooded. It was flooded.
Okay. And then is that the one where we went up and started over, and then we could see them stopping in the water, and it was coming down, and then we pulled over, just found us a quick camping spot, and then it came that flood that night. Yeah, that's all the same trip.
Is that the same trip y'all brought them live chickens to slaughter to eat?
No, it was a different trip.
Hey, it might have been. I think it was. I think it was.
Like kicking them down in the bottom of your kayak.
We was in between 43 and military on that one. We left them.
You guys brought live chickens to slaughter.
Well,
this is awesome.
We didn't have coolers. We didn't want to bring ice.
Let me tell you this story.
I mean,
this is the first camping trip we've been on in kayak, so we didn't have all the gear that packs down really little.
Yeah.
My birds had just went out. Tyler was helping me pick up the dead ones. They always leave some strays, and we're trying to figure out the food problem. How do we bring food? And I was like, maybe we can get a cooler and put a inner tube and float it.
Yeah.
And then we, problem worked that through. It's like, no, I don't think that'll work.
No, just bring live chickens.
Tyler said, we should just bring some of these chickens. And he was joking. And I was like,
or was he?
And I was like, that's a good idea.
Just give a handful of feed.
That's what we did.
They're clucking in the kayak, kicking them.
I took my chicken and kicked it all the way in the front of my kayak. And I never heard from it again, I never knew it was there. Until it come time to get him out, I'm like, come on out there,
Yeah, come on, little guy. I kicked you all day, but now I want you to come out.
He's like, no, I ain't coming out.
No, you're going to kill me.
Well, I turned my kayak up, to kind of dump him out. Man, that thing had trapped all in my kayak, all in the front of it. And I was like, Well, we just
I mean,
we threw them up on the bank, and they just ran around, around the campsite until we got ready to eat. And we went over and grabbed them and
Ate them up.
butchered them up and ate them.
Yeah. That's a man's camping trip.
That's the kind of stuff I want to be part of.
what about them livers though?
Lizards?
Livers.
Oh,
we
livers.
was
I thought
going to
you
eat the
said
liver for an appetizer, and there's something you got to cut off of there, or all that green bile comes out of it. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was rough.
We ate some of the livers.
Yeah, well, but one of them.
One of them had something wrong with it.
Yeah, it was a
They
tumor.
had
Y'all
that
got a tumor
gallbladder
out.
or something in there.
Is that a liver or a tumor? It doesn't matter.
But we had
Friday.
zero. We had zero seasoning, no salt, no nothing. So we just plucked these chickens, threw them over a
How
fire.
tough was it? Probably some-
Mine wasn't very good. I didn't eat much of mine, but the other guy that come with us, there wasn't nothing but a pile of chicken bones there when he got done.
He was just hungry. He didn't care how it tasted.
He ate my chicken, his chicken.
Brett promised me we get to have that adventure when we go camping.
We can do it.
I'm down. I want to be as Neanderthal-y as I can.
That's one of them ones that, is when you're in the middle of it, you're like, so it really ain't that fun until you get done. You're like, man, that was really fun.
That's what I mean. Some of that stuff makes for the best stories and best memories.
Yeah.
That's why I wasn't about to give up on
Do they
ours.
swim?
I doubt it.
I'm gonna put mine on a string. Just
There you go. You might catch a huge fish.
I think everybody else was fine. Mine's the only one that decided to crap all
I
in
don't
front.
want to let mine swim behind me.
Mine was fine. Never knew it was in there.
I never moved either until you just, I started dumping him out. And I guess he got scared.
There you go.
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh, we
We left one.
Yeah,
only
we
cooked
left
two. We
one
left
out
one.
there.
It's still running around out there somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, more than likely. That's awesome. So, yeah, you guys are going to have to come along to that.
Oh yeah, count me in.
Sometime, what did we say? It was October? When we were
Oh,
gonna be able
heck,
to?
I don't know.
I
I'm
forget
day to
when it
day,
was.
man.
I don't know if
You know.
Michael's had a good trip on that.
I don't
creek
think I've
yet.
ever had a great trip on there.
The very last one we did was just me and him, and we put our kayaks in and made it. Well, Brett, you remember we came down here, you put us in.
You
Oh,
can
yeah.
still see us
Yeah,
when the
that's right.
storm
What
hit.
happened
And,
on that one?
Well, we made it about 100 yards from where we put in at, and the bottom fell out.
Oh, it
I'm talking
rained.
about it was coming a flood. We ended up banking on the side and getting our tarps, and we just sat under them for like an hour. And we get to our campsite, all the wood's wet, hard to make a fire.
Yeah.
And then the next day, we were leaving, and we
Became
found
another flood.
it come
Because
another
that other
flood.
guy was drowning over there, crying out for help, and we're like trying to help him out.
Two homosexuals
Yes, 100%.
had
Time for you
flipped
to
their
meet Jesus.
Yeah.
He flipped their kayak. It was their canoe. It was a canoe,
Yeah.
right? Sunk all the way to the bottom, and they couldn't get it up.
Yeah.
They were sitting there crying. Oh, what are we gonna do? And
They're crying like for
Yeah,
real,
crying.
crying.
two men
Not
crying.
kidding.
I'm not
It's
joking.
coming a flood, and storm and lightning, and
This was before we were living our life for Jesus. We almost passed him.
yeah, I almost did 100%. I was like,
Sorry
man,
about your
I don't know about
I
that.
don't really want to touch your kayak.
Yeah, we don't know what you've been doing in that kayak.
So we did stop and pick their kayak up for them.
Yeah, we
know?
did. Yeah.
All right, bye.
So, yeah.
There was a
Here's
bunch.
your kayak.
Yeah. They weren't the only ones. We had to save a bunch of people that day.
Yeah, we did.
They was having like a canoe run or something. Nobody could canoe at all.
On GoPro, River Rescue.
It really was.
Right.
It was river rescue, and I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm not coming back down here.
I don't think you've been back.
I hadn't come back since I almost drowned. That was the
Man.
last time.
Oh, okay.
So, you're going to have to come back.
Yeah.
I'll come back, but
Okay.
if it's white water, I'm just telling you, I'm leaving.
Come on. We got
I'm
you.
just telling you.
Just
and
don't
if we
try
go
to
to
ramp
sleep
the
and it
tree.
rains and it's white water, I'll leave my kayak and I'll hike out. I'll find civilization. I promise.
Brett will bring the chickens.
Yeah, I'll eat and then I'll head on out.
I'll bring the seasoning. That way we can at least have seasoned chicken.
Yeah,
something.
definitely some salt or something. just bland chicken. That's rough.
Yeah, that's what makes it manly.
Well, the one time, remember,
Caveman.
Dustin bought a whole Sam's bag of fiber bars.
Yeah, that was that one.
Was it that trip?
Yeah, because we ate them.
That was the chickens was all we had, and fiber bars. So we spent the rest of the trip eating fiber bars, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks.
But that was a rough day the next
You were
day.
grabbing like crazy.
Well, we got who's got food, and Dustin had like a whole Walmart sack full of fiber bars, and he's like, I got these, and that's what we ate.
That's what memories are made out of.
Exactly. That's what I mean. This is kind of stuff that we gotta.
Man, we could sit here all day and talk about memories like that.
Oh yeah,
Man.
Oh,
I've got
yeah.
some stories.
I mean, we got a story, and that's what I was telling you. He's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff we've done, I can tell a story, and it's not near as entertaining as listening to them talk about it. But
Yeah.
But
Well, we'll have to do.
we've been doing stuff like that our whole life.
yeah, forever.
Yeah.
We'll just have to do a story time with the Forging podcast. Forging podcast story time.
Yeah.
Just tell all the crazy stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Got 4-wheeling trips.
Oh man.
I mean, shoot, there was a few nights we're lucky we didn't get killed.
All the one, you remember the one night I busted my forehead open all the way across it?
Yeah, that was probably the worst.
Yeah.
That's the same night I've told the story about Casey spitting on the can. That was funny.
I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah, it had rained and he was trying to siphon the gas out of the can.
Oh yeah.
Or out of the 4-wheeler with that little old vent tube, and he kept sucking it up in his mouth, and he would spit on the can. It's like, I don't know, but if you don't stop spitting on that can, I'm going to throw up.
Oh man, we're definitely gonna have to get you guys back and just do a story time because I think.
I've got some good stories.
Oh, yeah.
think it
We
would
could talk
be
about
fun.
turkey hunting. We've had some bad ones.
Oh yeah, our 3-hour turkey hunting trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Awful times. This is probably the best time I've
I
had
forgot
down here.
about that. That was
we
that's a
do.
good
We got time to get into that real quick.
Okay.
Our turkey. So me and Michael, we turkey hunt together. Every year. It opens up here a week earlier than it does at home, so we come here. And we went to my place. We'd walked everywhere. I'm talking 300 something acres. We're just walking, listening, calling. Terrible day. Winds blowing. It's cold.
It's raining.
Raining. So we don't hear nothing there. You can't hear nothing anyways. The wind's blowing 100 miles an hour. So we get in the truck. We go to another spot, my uncle's land, walk all of it, spend all day. Nothing there. I call Brett. I'm like, hey, man, you got any turkeys? Yeah, I've been seeing some turkeys. So you want to go to Brett's house? Yeah, let's go. So we go to Brett's, walk all his place. Nothing. And so he says, we
We seen one from the road.
yeah, we see one out in the pasture from the road.
Yeah.
So we're like, can we get to that bird? He's like, yeah, we can get to that bird through the woods over here.
Through the BCDA land
Yeah.
or whatever.
So we go to military. That's where we park at, right?
Yeah.
Military Bridge, and we take off walking. And we walked forever. And then I'm like, man, that bird was way back there. Like, where are we go? Yeah, where are we going? So we get to the bottom of this mountain. I'm talking about straight up mountain. And he's like, all right, let's go. We're going up there. We hike up this mountain, get up there. The wind is blowing so hard. It's just like, you know how it sounds,
Yeah.
just blowing across your ears. Can't hear nothing. And Michael's sitting there. He's like, where's that field at? And Brett said, it's about 400 or 500 yards up that way, And we're like, well, can we get any closer? No, this is it.
There's a no trespassing
There's
sign.
no
We're like,
trespassing. So, and we're both sitting here like, that was a waste of time.
Yeah.
So
The
Michael's
turkey's
sitting
not gonna
down.
hear
He's
us.
sitting down by a tree coming to flood, and he's calling for the birds. That thing ain't here. It wouldn't hear nothing if it was sitting right next to you. And he's miserable. I'm miserable. We've been doing this since daylight. It's done got pretty late in the evening. So we're sitting there like, well, let's just go. This is awful. Been a worst day ever. So we hike back down the mountain, walk all the way back, and I can see the truck. And I look back, Michael's going. And he looks up at me, and I was like, you forgot your phone, didn't you? He never said a word, just threw his gun down right there on the ground and started walking back.
I checked the weather at the top of the mountain. Left it.
We thought it was going to come a tornado. The wind was blowing. I'm talking about
Yeah.
blowing. So I was like, all right, I'll meet you at the truck. And I went back to the truck and turned the heat on. I'm sitting there.
I'll be waiting for you, bud.
Yeah.
He comes back. You can see him just ripping through the woods, coming back with his face like You know, he's supposed to kill somebody.
Yeah. I'm not ever coming back.
That's what he said.
We're not much up for hard adventures, are you?
Yeah.
We didn't say a word to each other all the way home. We just driving.
I like a hard adventure every now and then, but not every time. Like, give me a break every now and then.
Sometimes it's supposed to go how you plan.
Yeah, I want to come and do something. I don't want to die on a kayak trip every time. I want to shoot a turkey.
We've never killed a turkey.
Never kill a turkey. Ever.
Not
We've been
one.
here opening day for 5 years and never even heard a turkey gobble hardly.
We got about probably 50 miles of walking in down here in Marion County, and we have not killed one turkey.
It's awful.
It was like deer season this year or last year. I'm sitting in the shooting house waiting on a doe or buck, whatever wants to show its face, and I had 3 turkeys come out, and I'm like, "This is turkey season. It'd been perfect. Three gobblers just cruising through. They just meandered right across in front of me and just walked up the property and back, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna be set for turkey season. Of course, I never actually put any effort into turkey season.
Yeah.
But
Well, the bad thing about it is we've been for, 5 years probably. This year, I was like, I'm not going. He goes, and they hear like 11 turkeys. And I'm like, is it cursed against me? Is something going on? Because they hear turkey. There's turkeys everywhere now.
I got my 8-year-old with me, and we're running around, you know, trying to get an 8-year-old set up and still, and right where the bird is almost impossible.
Yeah.
We had several opportunities, but never made it happen.
Would have been a just piece of cake.
Oh, me and him could have shot 2 at one time.
Wow.
If he'd have been there. It's the first
And
time
I'm
he
not
had to
there.
come open
If
the
he'd
day
have been there,
with
it'd
me.
be chaos. It sounds like we need you on these trips so that
We have something
we
to
can
talk about.
guarantee chaos of some
There's
sort.
going to be chaos. Yeah. Just sign me up, buddy. That sounds like a great time.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I'll sleep good that night.
Oh man.
Oh man. Well, man.
It's a good thing it wasn't on some of them 4-wheeler trips.
Oh, man. That's
Yeah, I would've died,
just
probably.
thinking that. Like, some of those 4-wheeler trips was rough.
Yeah.
And if you'd have had him with you,
We might
could have
not
been
have
real
made it
bad.
back. Yeah.
I rolled down some of them mountains at Clifty.
Oh, yeah. That one morning I woke up, my eyes like glued shut with blood, and, you know, I had a gash in my forehead about that deep. And
Yeah. But now you're talking about it, and it's like, man, that was a good time.
Right?
That
Like when
wasn't
you're
that
going
fun.
through it, it's miserable.
Well, that was before.
Except for the turkey hunting. That was awful.
That was before Jesus.
oh,
So
wait,
that
that was
before
way
Jesus,
before Jesus.
So
Yeah.
there's no telling.
What was involved?
Yeah, what we don't remember.
Yeah.
I know there was about a case of beer involved on that one, but, you know.
Yeah.
That's a light day of drinking then. Man, yeah, we got all kinds of stories of buggy hunting, and, you know, coming from South Florida, we built swamp buggies, and we had a lot of good times with doing that stuff, and I won't even start stories on that, but we're going to have to do a story time.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun just to talk about some of the craziness that we went through, and thank God he carried us through it and
Yeah, for sure.
brought us out on the other side. But I think we're going to close this out, and I appreciate you guys coming down,
Yeah. Thank y'all
Yeah,
for
man,
having us.
thanks for
And,
having
It's
us.
been a great time.
giving your testimonies and talking a little bit more about discipleship and telling some fun stories and letting us laugh till we cry. And
Yeah. You know, for future adventures, we can enjoy God's creation with a whole new perspective.
yeah,
Yeah. Take this on my trips instead of
That's
something
right.
else.
Yeah.
That's right.
absolutely.
Let's
Whole
talk about
different-
that. Just
yeah.
talking about that. That'd be fun.
Do like
Absolutely.
a Bible
And
study and stuff.
also, don't forget all the conferences that we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Try to check those out. And if you guys will send me, you guys got like a link for,
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
send me
If there's
those
a
links.
Sign
and,
up or something. I'll let you know.
yeah,
People
that way I
sign
can put them out on our podcast page and people can see that.
up. Okay.
And man, I thank everybody for listening in, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation and the stories. And with that, we out. Thank you guys for listening. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram and follow us so you can stay up to date with latest podcast drops and content. Also, feel free to leave us a review on whatever streaming platform you're listening from. We'll catch you next week.